We are entering into another major make or break period with whatever new chapter we are in. Whatever new thing we are beginning right now, this week is going to test the longevity of it. We have the sun squaring Saturn, sun, what is being illuminated in our lives right now that we're focused on, challenging what we have been committed to and disciplined with as it relates to our new beginning in our next chapter. So that is going to kind of force us to face what needs to evolve in order for us to be more aligned with the path that we're on and the thing that we are beginning at this time, right? So that's a major make or break that's gonna peak on Monday. We also on Monday have the moon moving into Aries. It's going to be a part of that on Tuesday when we have the third quarter moon in Aries. So this will also be a week of taking action on the things that we're realizing we need to change or evolve to be more in alignment. Like, what do we need to pivot? How do we need to move through our fears or move from our fears, like act from our fears and face them instead of just shoving them under the rug because we also have Neptune going retrograde this week, which it does every single year around this time. So it's not the biggest deal, but it is going to have us reflect on where in our lives around this new beginning we may have been a little bit unrealistic or idealistic or delusional in ways that don't actually serve us moving forward, in ways that aren't practical, in ways that aren't going to support our commitment or our discipline to what we are building, right? That is new at this time. So that's kind of the major things happening at the start of the week. Later in the week, we have Venus moving into Virgo, which once again is going to have us really focused on the practical, what needs refinements, what needs a little bit of adjustment or recalibration in order for us to really be aligned with what we're doing in ways that really count, in ways that really matter. All of this is gearing us up for the Venus retrograde that we have upcoming in October. That's really going to test what we are building this year for longevity, test the relationships around us, test the financial systems or structures we have in place to support where we're headed, trust our sense of worthiness, test our sense of worthiness, trust. Why do I keep saying trust? We do have to trust a lot right now. Mercury retrograde. I feel like everyone's been tripping up over their words. We really have to trust where we're headed and we have to trust what we're led to do and when we're led to do it and that it's leading us to where we're meant to be. This has been such a major topic of all of my one-on-one client sessions lately is like, yes, you're on the right path. Just keep building it, keep going because consistency right now is the most important thing to achieve your dream and your vision. What you are building for yourself, you have to be consistent with it and you have to trust on those intuitive nudges and take action based on those. So, what is not aligned with that trusting and needing to act more from our inspiration, our intuition, what feels good to us to do or create or share or move forward on? How do I say, the things in our lives that aren't aligned with what we're doing, what we're building, are going to be tested, right? This is Saturn energy. I've been talking about this a lot lately. Saturn energy in general is discipline, is building through commitment and through consistency a solid foundation for yourself that you can thus build the rest of your life on. And at this time, anything that squares Saturn, anything that's touches Saturn in this way is testing us in what we're building for longevity and true alignment. And are we doing it in a balanced way? Are we doing it in a way that really supports where we're headed and supports where we're going? If not, we have to pivot and we have to make some adjustments to recalibrate, to refine. We also still are, and for most of July, actually all of July, I'll just say, for all of July, we're going to have Jupiter opposite Pluto as it's beginning its trek through Leo, which is kind of creating this tension between where we're expanding into our joy and what we need to transform within ourselves in order to have that expansion in a balanced way. Another big thing right now that we're focused on as a collective is wrapping up a cycle related to Pisces and Virgo. So since January 11th of 2025, we've had the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, and that is wrapping up right now. Both of them, both the North Node and South Node, they move together, are at 0 degrees. So we are very much, and the nodes move backwards. So they're about to move into Leo and Aquarius on July 26th. And because of that, we are wrapping up this major cycle related to how Pisces and Virgo have been a major focal point of our lives for all of us and this collective season that we're in over the last year and a half. We've seen religion kind of trending again. I said this was going to happen with North Node and Pisces. So we're wrapping up that cycle, spirituality as well, things related to creativity, and really releasing these compulsive habits, obsessions, mindsets, ways of being, beliefs that are focused on perfectionism or control or self-criticism. Like we have been releasing those, right, for the last year and a half to step into our spiritual path or our creative path. And now we are wrapping up that cycle in a really major way. So if you have anything in early degrees Virgo, it's going to be heightened and amplified at this time for you to release whatever is holding you back from that placement that you have to learn a lesson around and integrate the more evolved version of. I have Chiron and Virgo, so it's really been doing a number on me. Lately, I've been releasing a lot of subconscious blocks, wounds, and things I didn't even realize were still there and impacting me in a lot of ways. So if you have anything in early degrees, like 0 to 6 degrees of Virgo, you're probably feeling this. This is a focus on lessening that, on refining. Virgo is all about refinement. How can we make things better, right? How can we improve? But not so much that it's at a detriment to you taking action, to you caring for yourself, for you encouraging yourself, right? And having and approaching things from a encouraging, supportive mindset, because that's what's going to build what you're doing, is being your own best cheerleader. Another theme that has been huge lately in all of my one-on-one client sessions is like, how can you be your own best cheerleader to support yourself when it feels like it's not working, or when it gets hard, or when those limiting beliefs or those doubts come up, or those fears come up? How can you move through them in a way that's going to support you as opposed to letting them hold you back in the thing you don't want to be in or the thing you don't want to be doing, right? So you can actually step forward and what you want to be doing and in this new path that we're all building at this time. How can you make I don't want to say make the most of the liminal space, but how can you support yourself through the liminal space, right? Because we're all going to have those times throughout our life, and collectively we're all in a really big liminal space right now, but how can you support yourself through it in the ways that feel best to you and feel the most encouraging to keep going, because you are building what's aligned for you. And the doubt doesn't mean it's not, right? The fears don't mean it's not. It just means you're probably on the right path, actually. And these things are coming up to be released from deeper parts or versions of ourselves that needed that to survive at one point throughout our life. But we don't need it anymore. So now is a kind of, I hate to say this again. I feel like I've said this in so many other videos too, but there really have been so many final purge moments this year, and we're in a similar kind of energy this week is a really make or break, a really another big kind of final purge of everything that's not aligned with us and our path moving forward into what we're doing and what we're building. So that's the major energy of this week, and really through most of July. I keep forgetting when Mercury goes direct. I think it's the 20th, or I'm looking. Mercury 23rd. So Mercury goes direct on the 23rd. Mercury is retrograde until the 23rd of the month. I feel like the last week of July is going to be really, really fiery. It feels like, okay, I've been through the period of release that I needed in my life, and now here we freaking go, right? Because that's all Mercury retrogrades are, the reevaluation periods where things slow down so we can reassess, we can refine, we can make things better, we can recalibrate, make small adjustments in order to move forward in greater alignment through those reflections and those reevaluations. So we are in that phase until July 23rd. So feel the feelings, feel anything that comes up, Be writing, journaling your feelings out, your thoughts out, or your ideas that are coming in, or inspirations as they're coming in. Be writing things down. So important right now with Mars and Uranus and Gemini because there's just like boop, 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 boop. We're all like little pinballs about bobbling around everywhere. I wanted to ask that too. How was the Mars and Uranus conjunction for you on Friday night? How was your weekend? Where do you have Gemini in your chart? How was the Mars Gemini energy for you? For me, it was so much socializing, which I really, really needed and didn't realize how much I needed. I'm a Libra rising, so of course, I need connection and community and socializing. And I didn't realize how much the past year and a half with the South Node moving through my 12th house, I had been isolating and I didn't realize how much I need social time and connection. And it was kind of like everything all at once, but it was so beautiful and my life was so full over the weekend and so needed. And I'm really grateful for that. But it was busy. It was like, oh, okay, one on to the next. Everything all at once energy. So, anyways, where do you have Gemini in your chart? Do you have anything in other mutable signs? What was coming up for you with the Mars Uranus Mars Uranus conjunction? Let me know in the comments. Let's chat about it. And I think, let's see, is there anything else I want to say about this week? No, I feel complete with that. So, without further ado, let's get into the horoscopes. Aries Rising, we start your week off with the emotional focus on you. There's a sense of emotional renewal that's taking place on Monday and really feeling this rejuvenated drive towards what you're doing, what you're building that's related to you, your sense of self, your identity, perhaps your foundations in life as well, as there could be some just challenges that come up around home or family that are kind of challenging you in this new path you're building related to your sense of self, your identity, or your appearance, even. There could just be some things to navigate around that with home and family. Then, as we head into Tuesday, there could be something emotionally that you're feeling like really taking action on or putting into place as it relates to you, your appearance, your sense of self, perhaps related to what came up with home or family. Maybe even over the weekend that has been building and maybe it came to a head on Monday and it gives you some clarity on how to move forward with what you're building for yourself and your life. As we head into Wednesday, the emotional focus on you and your sense of self is harmonizing with what's going on in your area of creativity, of passions, of romance, dating, or children, perhaps. So there could be some positive feelings or positive things that you're drawn to create or put out to the world, to share, to speak about, to take action on. There could be something that you're really feeling called to do or create or again just put out into the world related to your creative passions and what's feeling expansive there all of a sudden as well that you've probably been building for a while, but now you're realizing you can't hold off on anymore. As we head into Thursday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of money, of possessions, of resources. There could be something emotionally healing that comes up either late Wednesday or early Thursday around your self-worth, around your values, around your money, perhaps food, possessions, maybe wanting to declutter or sell things you don't use anymore, that kind of thing. There's a big focus on just kind of healing some wound related to value, worth, or money so that you can have the things that you're building so you can move forward with your creative passions or expansion or really what brings you joy. As we get into Friday, there continues to be an emotional focus on your money, on your resources. There's also some realizations building, perhaps mental, internal mindset, beliefs, things kind of building and being illuminated in your area of home and family as well. And that continues to build over the weekend and on Friday. It's activated by something emotionally related to money or self-worth. So this could be some childhood theme that you're realizing is still affecting you. And there's a need for you to really, it might already be things presenting themselves that are helping you to heal this and move forward. Also on late on Thursday and into Friday, What you're focused on as it relates to values and self-worth is moving from a place of like joy and expansion and fun into refinement. What needs changed? How can I change it in order to move forward in ways that feel good to me? Perhaps this relates to work connections, relationships, things like that. And then as we get into the weekend on Saturday, there's a big need for you to speak up about something. There's a big need for you to emotionally share something. This could also be a kind of emotionally chaotic weekend. Could be very busy, could be very full with things you're doing, people you're seeing, places you're going, people you're talking to, connecting with, networking. Again, related to work, this could challenge but indirectly support the changes you're making to work that you're solidifying at this time as well, or perhaps health, routine. Again, where you're going, who you're talking to, it's all up for reevaluation right now, and you're implementing it. It's like you realize it and you implement it. You're implementing it right away. There's not much of a delay. Um, and we end out the week with more of that energy, more of that integration of this, more of realizations, and again, moving forward and acting on things really quickly. It feels like the turnaround time from your realizations to like putting it into place is very fast. So that's your week ahead, Aries. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Taurus Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your subconscious. This might be at the start of the week a kind of emotionally reclusive time where you need to kind of go within or spend some time somewhere that helps you to connect with your inner world. You might even be getting weird or just healing messages through dreams or things like that. But there is at the start of the week as well this kind of renewal of your energy and your how you initiate and take action on things. But it could, again, like I said, require you to really go within or spend more time within your inner world, a little more than maybe usual. Could maybe need to take space from people or things to just get clarity of the emotional kind. Could help to journal or again, pay attention to your dreams, maybe write, journal about them like first thing when you wake up. Tuesday, the emotional focus on your inner world and your subconscious is challenging what's going on with your day to day. There could be this sense of, oh, I need this time for myself, but I'm also so busy and I have so many social events and you might have to like say no to things in order to take better care of yourself. And that's a big period of, or a big, now is a big period of reevaluation around that and what you commit yourself to and what you say yes to, because there's just becoming such an apparent way, mm, yeah, in which you give too much of your energy away and like it scatters you. And you need to bring it back in order to take better care of yourself moving forward and to build what you're building from an inner place of solid, it's like an inner solid foundation. As we head into Wednesday, there could be something emotionally challenging about what's going on with your inner world. Again, there really probably needs to be a conversation or a boundary setting of like, no, I actually can't commit to all these things. Or again, there's like this challenge between what you're doing on a daily basis, where you're going, who you're talking to, and what is pulling you from your inner world that needs attention and needs time away from people, perhaps a little bit of isolation in order to move through that, whatever's coming up for you in an internal way. And to have that and balance that time that you give yourself with your home and family, with like your friends, there's this big sense of needing to find a way to balance things. As we head into Thursday, there's a sense of emotional renewal that takes place, more related to feeling embodied in what you're doing and how you're doing it moving forward. There's also could be some things that are challenging between you emotionally and what's going on with home and family. And it feels like though there could be supportive people you have to call on, or again, it's like not saying yes to events or things or whatever because they're just coming to you. It's more so, how do I say, approach this from a place of what actually nourishes you, what actually supports you, what actually feels reciprocal to you to do or spend time around. That's really the energy because it's like when you do that, you're going to be supported when you leave your cocoon versus feeling more scattered and drained. So that's a big focus, especially Thursday. There could be really supportive people that are there for you um, in ways that you need, right? As we head into Friday, the emotional focus on you, your sense of self, your appearance. You're probably feeling more sensitive these days as well. Whatever you're emotionally focused on with yourself is activating again that need to speak up for yourself or speak up for your needs in order to be supported by the people around you and to have those connections feel reciprocal. And there could, like I said, I feel like I'm beating a bush here, but it's like you really need to approach things from, does this nourish me? Does this fill up my cup? Does this feel supportive and reciprocal? Or is it something that really drains me? And I just haven't allowed myself to realize that. Also, as we head into the weekend, there's a focus on perhaps creativity or children or dating or romance in a way that there has been a removal from. Like if you, again, just really have filled up your social calendar too much, it's like, okay, I need to reel it back in. I need to spend some time with me on my creative passions and pursuits in ways that feel good for me. And then as we head into Saturday, the emotional focus shifts onto your money, your resources, your self-worth, and possessions. There could be some things that feel emotionally challenging or emotionally like you have to change, you have to take action on this as it relates to your self-worth, your money, perhaps that positively supports what you're doing in career or vice versa. There's a change perhaps in career that supports your money emotionally, and there's a lot of emotional drive towards money and possessions, maybe downsizing or just decluttering and kind of shifting things in ways that feel better for you moving forward and long term. And that allows you, again, to take care of yourself in the ways that you need and harbor inspiration and creativity as opposed to stagnant things that just don't feel good, right? And that's kind of how we end out the weekend. There's these big realizations building around how you nurture and care for yourself and needing to put them into place and implement them in order to feel more aligned with what you're doing and how you're doing it moving forward. So that is your week ahead, Taurus. Let me know how this resonates with you in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you and your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your community, your friendships, your long-term goals and visions. There could be things that you're really inspired about there to take action on or to move forward with, but at the same time, what you're building for yourself long term or stepping into as it relates to community, social media, long-term goals and visions could be challenging what's going on with money or vice versa. Like something about money could be challenging your long-term goals or social media or community. Could also show up in self-worth, possessions, needing to downsize or needing to really like just get clear on what you need to do, what you want to do, right? What do you need to have? Who do you need to be? What maybe worthiness things there are still to work through, seeing your value in order to keep going and keep building what you're building. That's going to have a long-term success for you, but there has to be these inner foundations of seeing your value and seeing your worth. And on Tuesday, that comes up in an emotional way. So there could be something emotionally that just challenges you around that, feels a little conflicting, but it also forces you to evolve, to take action, to move forward in ways that ultimately are going to be supportive for you and what you're doing. As we get into Wednesday, there could be an emotionally challenging conversation you have to have either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning around that. Maybe there's some realizations. Could be just inner mindset shifts, beliefs. Like you have to have a conversation with yourself of like, hey, I'm really gonna like support myself. I'm really going to change the way I talk to myself moving forward, or perhaps that's coming from the external as well, of like realizing who actually supports you verbally in ways that you need versus who doesn't, who has a mindset. Who sees things and has a similar mindset as you, sees things the same way that supports your vision and like can be that expander for you and be someone who's going to support you in doing what you're doing and building what you're building, right? So there's a lot of mental mental realizations happening. Later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of the subconscious. There could be some emotional trigger that comes up again related to self-worth or money, value, relationships, perhaps. The end of the week, these kind of 2 days, Thursday and Friday, are really starts late on Wednesday, but mostly Thursday and Friday are really about what in your inner world needs support right now. Belief systems, mindsets, how you're talking to yourself, and solidifying in and being embodied in this sense of worthiness and value that you have and provide to the world from an inner place. Wednesday, Thursday too, there could be something about that challenges again your mindset, how you communicate, how you're sharing yourself, your ideas and information in ways that bring you joy so that you really are acting and building what you want from a more aligned, embodied place. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus on your inner world is activating what's going on with money. So these could be a lot of mindset themes around money or abundance or, again, self-worth, your value. There's a lot of that building right now, this big shift and this illumination of these mindset themes that haven't been supportive for you, these belief systems that haven't been supportive for you, and how you're moving through life. As we head into the weekend, late Friday and into Saturday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of you. There's a sense of emotional renewal that takes place, feeling a sense of perhaps emotional chaos. It feels like there's this fog that has lifted and there's a lot of ideas flowing, there's a lot of conversations flowing, and it's kind of like have a journal to like write things down because it feels like things are moving at 1,000 miles an hour as we get into this upcoming weekend. And something about that too could challenge what's going on with home or family that you're releasing ties to, or you're reevaluating, or you're refining in ways that feel good to you, perhaps financially, perhaps tied into those self-worth themes. So you can do what you want to do. And that's really how we end out the week is taking action on those realizations that are coming through. So that is your week ahead, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you and your life. So let me know in the comments and I'll see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the emotional focus on your career, on your reputation, your image, how you're perceived, how you're seen, what you're building there that perhaps is new, and really what you're being disciplined and committed to as it relates to your reputation and your career and what you have been building. At the same time, whatever that is that you're focused on is challenging you. It's challenging perhaps an identity and outdated version of yourself to be released, either identity related things or appearance related things. Whatever's being illuminated about you and your sense of self is being challenged by what you're building in your career. So there might be this need to really reevaluate and make some needed refinements and evolve these two areas in ways that feel better for you moving forward. And on Tuesday, there's some emotional emphasis to that. There's a lot of emotional drive and focus on your career, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what about that is challenging you? And how you need support and nurturance, right? And how you can give that to yourself. So there might be these themes that you're realizing or that are coming up and you're realizing you need to take action on right on Tuesday in order to move forward in more aligned ways that are better for you. As we head into Wednesday, that emotional focus on your career is challenging how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others from that place, and maybe most likely coming into better congruence with how you support others mentally through your communication and how you support yourself. And perhaps like realizing you need to support yourself the same way you support others, right? You're your own worst enemy. I don't know why, I mean, that is true. It resonates with everyone, but I don't know why that's such a thing that like has become true. And it's kind of like being your own best cheerleader, being your own best friend, your own best parent, your own best therapist, your own best whatever, right? And feeding yourself mentally what you need to feel supported and nourished and how you're moving through life. So there's a lot of realizations coming up around that this week. And there is this sense of, again, integration, of taking action and evolving whatever's coming up so you can feel more supported in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your long-term goals, visions, community, social media. There could be something really emotionally triggering that comes up around that later on Wednesday that challenges what's going on with money for you, what's going on with, again, recognizing your value and speaking to yourself from that place. The outlet of this is through creativity. So there could be some inspiration, some idea you get to take action on from this challenging thing or this triggering thing that comes up. Alchemize it, right? For the longest time, my way of alchemizing the hardships I faced in my life was through my content. So if I was feeling something, I would share it, right? Um, and that is how I built such a successful business on social media, I believe, is because I channeled anything about my life I didn't like into creating content, into something that felt joyous for me, right? So it's all about how are you transmuting this energy that's coming up that feels challenging or frustrating, perhaps Wednesday or Thursday. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus on your community, long-term goals, vision, social media is activating what's going on with your sense of self and communication revolving around you, your identity, your appearance. So there could be some helpful people in your life, perhaps content on social media that's encouraging you to better embody your worth and talk to yourself differently to um, really have that mental support from yourself as well as the outside world. Then we head into Saturday. Late on Friday and into Saturday, the emotional focus shifts into your subconscious. There could be a lot of really deep inner world change that's happening emotionally really rapidly. There could be some emotional frustration that comes up on Saturday around that, or just weird dreams that you wake up and you're like, what? Like you get all your frustrations out in your dreams, and your dreams are maybe like healing focused or change focused. That's a big energy on Saturday. There's also this thing. There's also a focus on releasing, yeah, outdated mindsets related to worthiness, um, tying into your money and relationships and your mindset and in your communication. So I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but those are really the major themes as we end out the week. It's all about integrating these mindset themes you're realizing that haven't been supporting you in what you're doing and what you're building and what shift needs to happen, what needs to be refined in order to feel more supported from yourself mentally, um, in all of these things in all of these ways. So that is your week ahead, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Leo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your perspective, your philosophies of life, your mindset. There's a lot of emotional drive on this area. There's a lot of focus on building a solid foundation for yourself moving forward from a different belief system or a different perspective of viewing the world around you, perhaps a different spiritual lens. It's all about shifting your inner world. It's all about shifting how you talk to yourself, how you communicate to yourself from the inside out, and how that creates and shapes your reality. And that all comes down to your perspective and how you're viewing the world around you in a major way. So that's really what is a big point of focus for you at the start of this week, especially is this, how do I evolve my mindset? What do I need to heal in my inner world? Perhaps through somatic therapy or something, or just like seeing the world differently. A gratitude practice, having something that you do that builds this shift in your mindset and in your inner world related to not only how you talk to yourself, but just how you view the way things happen to you and what you do with that, right? On Tuesday, that focus is an emotional one. There perhaps is an emotional drive to really take action on, okay, I need to see this differently. I need to shift my perspective. I need to shift the way I'm focused on this or viewing this or talking about this. There's a huge emphasis on that, on taking action to evolve whatever challenges you're facing in both of these areas of your life. To see it differently is the major energy on Tuesday. As we head into Wednesday, there's some, that continues, and it's more of a like internal realization, or just clicking into place of some new belief or some new realization or practice habit that you've been building in your mindset and your communication, like your internal communication. There also could be an emotional clearing related to something from perhaps early in your life, childhood, that was stored in your subconscious. There could be some emotional release as well, like maybe you need to cry in the shower or something. Um, in order to release from your nervous system and your body what has been coming up. Later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your career, your reputation, your image. There could be something emotionally triggering on Wednesday, later on Wednesday, that happens related to your career or your reputation. Perhaps that challenges what's going on with you and what's going on with your relationships. But again, what are your solid inner foundations that you have to move through challenges when they come up? Is the major focus, and is going to be the support of that energy and any challenges you face from it. As we head into Thursday, there continues to be an emotional focus on your career, your reputation, your image, what you're doing there, what you're building for the long term. There's also a shift in your values, your finances, that becomes a major focus. And there perhaps is some more cleanup to do, refinement to be made with your resources, with your possessions, tied into your sense of self-worth. That stems from your perspective, your mindsets, inner talk, inner communication. As we get into Friday, the emotional focus on your career is activating those mindset things that have been coming up in your inner world. There also is this illumination building of what deeper needs change in how you communicate to yourself and like your inner world. There could also be some things clearing through your dreams, perhaps having really emotionally intense or just healing, clearing dreams from all of this that's coming up too. Later on Friday, the emotional focus shifts from your career into your area of long-term goals, visions, community, social media, friendships, and there could be a big emotional shift that takes place with that. There could also be this very, how do I say, fast shift emotionally fat. It's a weird energy. It's a chaotic, unpredictable energy, and there's emotional emphasis to it. There's emotional amplification. So pick your battles on Saturday as it relates to like friends, social media. Perhaps this could be just that mindset shift, that perspective shift, really clicking in at an emotional level, and perhaps meeting people or seeing people on social media that help you to shift into this mindset and help you just kind of expand what you know to be true or possible for yourself in your life moving forward. I mean, you're in this whole new cycle of expansion with Jupiter and Leo, and it's all about how are you expanding in your sense of self, and then everything else about your life kind of rippling out from that, the way that change that you're experiencing and how you present yourself to the world in a major way. And that continues as we end out the week on Sunday. There's there's some challenges perhaps that are building by the end of this week too, with possessions, resources, again, related to what needs to be let go of, what needs to be released, so you can step forward into what you're building that you've had this goal or this vision around for quite some time, perhaps related to community, social media, or friends, tied into your worthiness. So that is your week ahead, Leo. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your shared resources, your debt, taxes, investments, inheritance, Your emotional vulnerability, intimacy, things of that nature. If you share resources with people in any capacity, there's a big emotional focus on that. And there perhaps is some just things not feeling emotionally clear related to that, maybe in your inner world. There's this sense of expansion within your inner world and in your subconscious. And there might need to be some time you take for yourself, the first couple days of the week in order to get clarity. But at the same time, there's a lot of focus on socializing, there's a lot of focus on community. And so, what you're building in your inner world and for yourself kind of is being challenged by the busyness or the fullness of your social life or your social connections at this time as well. And so, there just needs to be a small shift in how you balance both these areas and how you move forward in ways that fully support what you're doing in both of these areas and how you're going about doing it. That is emotionally heightened on Tuesday. So there could be this sense of, okay, I can't ignore this anymore. I have to take action on this. I have to make a savings account, or I have to really get serious about paying off this debt, or I have to get really serious about whatever you're building as it relates to more emotional vulnerability or intimacy with yourself and others, perhaps related to friendships or community as well. Whatever's been a kind of mental reevaluation of how you show up or how you connect with people in your community and in your circle, there's a sense of needing to take action on those realizations on Tuesday in order to move forward in ways that feel more aligned with what you're doing and how you're doing it and in the way that that's supporting you, or hasn't been supporting you, and there needs to be a change around it, right? Wednesday, the emotional focus on your shared resources is harmonizing with what's going on in your inner world. So this could be this solidification taking place of like, okay, I'm wrapping this up in a way that I feel good about. I put these things into place. I started this. I have this practice, whatever it is. It feels better, right? And so there is this sense of you recalibrated. So now you have like this taken care of and you can move into other areas is what it feels like of focus, in some kind of subtle ways. Because also on Wednesday, later Wednesday, we have the emotional focus for you shifting into your area of perspective, belief systems, spiritual gifts, spirituality, and it's challenging what's expanding within your subconscious and your spiritual practices, as well as challenging your day to day, your routine, your schedule, your health, perhaps your work life, what's changing there in major ways. And later on Wednesday, there could be some emotional trigger or wound that's brought up within your belief systems at an embodiment level, at a worthiness level, that comes up for you to just make a kind of evolution or small change to move forward in ways that, again, feel more supportive for what you're building and where you're going. As we head into Thursday, there's this sense of renewal and major release tied to you and your worthiness and how embodied you are in your worthiness and your value. Perhaps through relationships, perhaps through or from finances as well. What else is going on Thursday? That's really the major focus. We do have an activation on Thursday as well between your belief systems, your philosophies of life, your perspective, and what's going on with community, long-term goals, social media, and friendships. So there could be some helpful conversations you have with people on Thursday that solidify in this sense of your worthiness and of how you're shifting the way that you view yourself and your gifts and what you have to share with the world. It's this big mindset and perspective shift that's really building at a foundational embodied level throughout this week. As we get into Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of career, image, reputation. There could be a lot emotionally solidifying in, and there could be this sense as well of like, okay, now that I did a little bit more cleanup work that was needed, I can really prioritize the fullness of what's happening with work and career and how things are moving forward and just feeling really busy. And it feels like there's just more solidity in how you move through the busyness and how you move through all the things. And that's also a big focus of the weekend as we get into Saturday. There could just be a lot of like, just a lot of things going on. Visibility, people seeing you, people recognizing you, wanting your services, a lot of busyness and forward momentum and career and what you're doing there and with work on a daily basis. But again, it's like don't neglect yourself for these ways that the external world is pulling you. Again, remember the balance. Remember the refinements that you've made to have that balance. So that's how we end out your week. Virgo, let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from you on how accurate these are for you. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hey, Libra Rising, we start your week off with the emotional focus on your relationships. There could be a sense of renewal emotionally related to your connections, your relationships, and how you're taking action on them, how you're moving in and around relationships and other people in your life, and kind of really having more emotional clarity on how to navigate this area of your life and how to navigate other people and connections in some really big ways. There's also on Monday, a peak realization between what's going on, maybe perhaps what you have been building in relationships that's new, and that feeling like it's really challenging career. It's challenging your ability to be recognized within career or image. And it feels like these two areas are kind of conflicting each other, right? They're challenging each other. And so there are realizations on your end of how do I evolve this in a way that makes sense, in a way that feels good to me, in a way that feels supported and feels reciprocal. Especially on Tuesday, there is emotional charge that's being added to those challenges. This could feel like really an emotional frustration that happens in relationships that challenges something about career or your ability to really focus on that in ways that again you're needing. And it really forces you to perhaps have a conversation that could take place on Wednesday related to what has been coming up, but it doesn't feel good. It feels challenging, and it's like, okay, I need to shift my focus. I need to shift the way that this is showing up or the way that I'm approaching this or the way that I'm talking about this, communicating about this, perhaps internally as well as externally, in order to feel more in alignment, in order to feel more supported in what you're doing and what you're building in career, connected to the people in your life that are going to help you build that versus take you away from building it, right? So that's a major focus the first half of the week. Later on Wednesday, the emotional focus for you shifts into shared resources, debt, taxes, investments, perhaps emotional intimacy and vulnerability as well. There could be some major trigger that comes up emotionally on Wednesday, later on Wednesday, tied into those themes that challenges what you're doing creatively, that challenges dating or romance or children, perhaps challenges your passions, and also challenges how you're expanding in community, your long-term goals and visions. And it's like, okay, this isn't what I want for myself in my life. So how do I shift it? How do I transform it in order to be more aligned with where I am headed and what is expanding for me in really big ways as it relates to my goals and achieving those long-term visions and career things. As we head into Thursday, um, your focus of relationships, value, self-worth, finances, um, there's a big moment of needing to release something. This could perhaps be a relationship. This could just be a value that you no longer felt was aligned, a sense of worthiness, that you weren't seeing about yourself, that like this old kind of identity tied into worthiness, money, relationships, value. There's a big release of it so you can have more alignment. On Thursday, there's this major kind of make or break moment of healing within your self-worth, your values, maybe really standing up for yourself and releasing something that you just know isn't aligned for you. And it kind of comes down to you just seeing things from a different perspective and a more abundant, positive mindset than a like, oh, I can't let this go because there's nothing better, blah, 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 negative mindset, right? And there's kind of this also, it's going to be a focus next week, but there's also this change majorly building between your inner world and your perspective. And so that kind of that starts to shift a lot of things on Thursday. As we head into Friday, your focus on emotional vulnerability, shared resources is activating career. So there's perhaps a helpful conversation you have with someone that maybe presents you with an opportunity for career to. I don't know, there's like discussions or conversations going on with how to do what you want to do with work, what you're stepping into related to that, that you're reevaluating, that you're refining, that you're adjusting. And then later on Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your perspective. There could be a lot of change all of a sudden, perhaps related to how you're viewing life and choosing to see things differently. And feels a little bit emotionally chaotic Friday into Saturday because of that, but it is really kickstarting you to have a lot of growth and more so step into this philosophy of life that's been building and evolution related to that that is changing for you in some really massive ways. And as we end out the week on Sunday, it's just really about integrating all of that. It's really about taking action on these realizations instead of like staying stuck in them, and just kind of repeating the same cycle over and over. There's an illumination that something really has to shift. And perhaps more of a conversation will be had around that. Um, but yeah, there it's kind of like by the end of the week, things are unignorable in terms of like what needs to shift and change in a major way. So that is your week ahead, Libra. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I love to hear from you on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off with the your emotional focus on your day-to-day work, your routines, your health. There could be a lot of creative inspiration coming through about things to do or act on and create within work, within your routines to support your work or support health, what you're doing and moving forward on that's new, this new chapter. But at the same time, on Monday, there's this energy that peaks around this new what you're building that's new within work and career and routines being kind of challenged by your mindset, your perspective of the world, or perhaps spiritual beliefs, a mindset, limiting beliefs. There's something that you're how do I say, is no longer ignorable in terms of the way that you see the world. So you have to really, there's this big focus on shifting your perspective and kind of seeing things from a more expanded perspective, of what you're doing and what you're building versus this like, oh, it can only happen in this one way, or there's just this one way of doing it. It's like, what have you been shown that proves that to be wrong, right? That there's actually, that proves to you there's lots of ways to do what you want to do. And there's this opportunity to really expand, within your career right now, as long as you are focused on your passion, your obsession, and acting on those intuitive nudges you get around that to share yourself with the world in a way that is putting yourself out there. And on Tuesday, there's an emotional emphasis to that. There's an emotional emphasis on perhaps taking action to change your mindset. Perhaps you take action and it changes your mindset, and you realize, like, oh, this is actually possible for me, or I never saw myself as someone who could do something like this, and but then you do it, and it's like, oh, that was actually easy, or I could totally see myself doing this long term, or whatever it is, right? It really shifts your perspective, because you're taking the emotional action and being dedicated with the way that you go about it and how you do it. And that's really what Monday and Tuesday have to teach you in major ways. Um, and kind of give you more clarity on what exactly needs to evolve in order to line up with that. As we head into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your relationships. There could be some trigger or wound that comes up within relationships, perhaps related to finances, value, self-worth. Did I already say money? And it kind of emotionally challenges what you're how you're expanding in career, and perhaps challenges some sort of internal transformation that's happening within your inner world too in your home. But the release of this energy is on you. So doing something that feels good for you, that allows you to pursue something that is a passion, that again, that is an obsession that you're sharing with the world. It's like, what is your outlet for this energy? What is your outlet for things when they feel frustrating or challenging? And there's a big need on Wednesday to put your energy into that and into you, as opposed to letting these challenges or conflicts like rile you up or get the most of you or drain you or take your energy? Um, how can you really just like call your power back to you? Thursday, the emotional focus is still on your relationships. You could be spending time with people that really feel supportive or feel nurturing. There also could be, again, conversations you're having with people that inspire you to shift your mindset, your perspective, seeing things from a higher perspective, and kind of are bringing up these maybe belief systems in order to shift. There's also this big release happening with long-term goals, visions starting on Thursday. Kind of peaks on Thursday where there's this energy of, oh, I kind of thought it would look this way. And there's a realization that it can perhaps look a different way and a better way, actually. And you didn't know until you knew, right? Is the energy. A lot of supportive people inspiring you right now, motivating you um, to head into the path that you're moving towards. Friday, later on Friday, we have the emotional focus shifting for you out of relationships and into your area of shared resources, emotional vulnerability, debt, investments, other people's money, also intimacy and emotional vulnerability. So there could be some major emotional change or innovation related to that. Could be these belief systems around how you're making money, where it's coming from, kind of thing as well. And again, seeing things from a higher perspective, I mean, is the major focus that's building in a massive way this week with this with this Mercury retrograde too. It's like seeing life from a different perspective, a more expansive perspective of how you can support and nurture yourself with what you're doing and how you're doing it moving forward. And there could be this sort of chaotic emotional change around that that takes place on Friday or Saturday. Again, it's the energy of put any challenges you face into you and into what you're doing instead of getting bogged down in the kind of chaos or frustration of it all. And yeah, we end out the week on Sunday with really this big sense of, okay, got a lot more clarity. Here's what I do. Here's how I take action on it. So that is your week ahead, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your dating, romance, creative passions, pursuits, projects, children, perhaps. There could be a lot of emotional fogginess, but very much emotional inspiration, action that you're feeling called to do or create or share, or maybe intuitive downloads, perhaps through dreams that you're getting as well at this time, or maybe other people in your life, or kind of supporting you in getting these realizations and supporting mindset shifts or belief system shifts around what you're doing and where you're headed. But at the same time, especially Tuesday, the that emotional focus in that area of your life feels like there's a limitation. It feels like there's some challenge or limitation. Um, like you've been disciplined and committed to something, but you're just not seeing the results you want to see yet. And it feels like it's challenging whatever's going on with shared resources or intimacy, emotional vulnerability, and how you're feeling supported in that area. So these two areas need more balance. They need more support. Perhaps needs to be a way that you evolve your routine or you evolve the way that you approach both of these areas in a way that feels more emotionally fulfilling for you moving forward. Uh, Wednesday, there could be a difficult conversation you have to have around that, perhaps with yourself, of like, okay, I really need to just view this differently or mentally focus on something else in order to not get obsessed or bogged down by what's going on there, by the challenges. There needs to be a mental evolution. Later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your routine, your day-to-day, health, work. There could be something about either of those things that feels emotionally triggering for you. There could be perhaps be an emotional wound that comes up around work or health on Wednesday that challenges what's going on with your belief systems or travel. Perhaps it challenges something about travel. The release of this energy is through focusing on your mental health, how you can support again these mental thought loops or mental thought patterns and what you're focused on mentally that feels more supportive for you moving forward as opposed to getting obsessed or bogged down in the challenges and overwhelmed by them. As we head into Thursday, there's perhaps a big release within career that could take place. It could be the release of a relationship or a connection related to career or your image, your reputation. Could just be a sense of, again, a mindset around worthiness or values that's being released, a mindset around money that's being released, related to career and some evolution that you're making with that, as well as like relationships in your life and the people you have around you or the people you're supporting through work and career. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your relationships. There's a lot of emotional emphasis on innovation. Could also be feeling a little emotionally overwhelmed Friday and Saturday by relationships or by people in your life. There could be a lot of social things that are happening, and it's just kind of putting pressure or tension on like what's going on with career and what's going on with home and like these other areas. Just kind of feels a little bit emotionally chaotic and overwhelming. But again, it's all about how can you support yourself through these things that come up? How can you support yourself, especially mentally, without getting bogged down in all of the challenges, right? What do you need to move through it and feel supported? So that's the major energy. And as we end out your week on Sunday, um, it's kind of like it's what if you haven't already, what needs to be taken action on as it relates to your mindset or your perspective, your communication styles, where you're going, who you're talking to, what you're doing on a daily basis that either supports you or doesn't, right? What needs a shift so you feel more nourished and supported in every facet and area of your life in the ways that matter. So that is your week ahead, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. Love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Capricorn Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your home and family. This could be you spending a lot more time in your internal world or just on things in your home that need attention. There could be a lot of inspiration as well or creativity coming through your home in some way, but at the same time, whatever you're focused on and building within your inner world or your home and family, your foundations is being challenged by relationships that either don't feel supportive in certain ways or there's like tension or challenges between what you need internally versus what you're receiving externally. So there's this focus on evolving both those areas to come into greater harmony. And on Tuesday, there's emotional drive added to that. So it's kind of like if you maybe realize it Monday and there's something that feels challenging, but Tuesday is like, okay, I'm taking action on this. It's kind of a quick turnaround time for what you implement and how you move forward in terms of giving yourself the foundations that you need in supportive ways that are brought to your attention. They can't be ignored anymore. um, we get into Wednesday. Perhaps there's a conversation you need to have around that. That is kind of an emotional one in nature. And then later on Wednesday, the emotional focus for you shifts into your area of creativity, of passions, of dating, romance, children, perhaps. Could be feeling more creatively inspired, but there could also be some emotional wounds or triggers that come up in this area of your life related to money, value, self-worth, shared resources, and how that's expanding at this time as well. So it feels like whatever you're focused on creatively, it challenges those other areas again in order for you to evolve. There might be some supportive people that can help you to feel more nourished or feel bring things into greater balance related to those areas. As we get into Thursday, there's a big potential for releasing an outdated mindset related to worthiness, relationships, or money, and really solidifying in some perspective shift. In terms of like how you're viewing life and in your mindset or your spiritual beliefs, limiting beliefs that just have been holding you back, and choosing ones that are more positive, that are more beneficial, and really focused on releasing some sort of outdated mindset or habit or practice mentally that wasn't supporting you, right? Big, big, big focus on Thursday. And at the same time, there's again probably more supportive people coming into your life as well to help you with that release. We get into Friday, and the emotional focus shifts into your area of work, health, day to day, routines, your schedule. There could be some lots of busyness, lots of fullness going on in what you're doing for work, and there might need mm, you could run the risk of, going too hard, too quick, doing too much, too fast, and it's like your health takes a toll. So just watch out for that, for like overextending what you're capable of doing or taking action on at this time. Friday and Saturday, it's going to be really busy. There's a lot of momentum, but just make sure you're like taking it slow and you're remembering to check in with your needs of your physical body. Like, don't overextend yourself or do much too much, too fast, too quickly, too fast, too quickly. Because you could really, end up in a lot of emotional chaos. There could perhaps be some sort of injury, if you're not careful. So just be emotionally aware of your body and your needs and not overextending yourself this upcoming weekend. And it feels like there's some sort of helpful, supportive, emotionally nurturing conversation as well that's building or that you have perhaps over the weekend with a certain someone or around a certain someone, about certain someone in your life that just kind of clicks into place all these changes that are building and these mindset shifts that you're stepping into at this time that are really more positive and healing for you. So that's your week ahead, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your day to day, your communication, where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis. There could be a lot of creative things coming through or weird dreams that you wake up on Monday from. Um, There's also some challenges building Monday between that kind of peak on Monday, between your communication styles and what's going on with work or what's going on with health. So there could be these realizations of like, okay, I'm building this thing, but I also need to take care of me and make sure that I'm taking care of me and not getting too out of whack or out of balance with both those areas. And on Tuesday, there's an emotional way that that's showing up. So there could be this sense of like, you realize it Monday and Tuesday, it's like implementation time. I can't ignore this anymore. This needs to change. This needs to be moved forward on and taken action around. As we head into Wednesday, there could be some sort of conversation you have to have related to that on Wednesday, perhaps midday. And then later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your home and family. There could be some emotional wounds brought up around home or family that are challenging you and challenging your relationships. And there kind of feels like this a lot of challenge going on between your inner world and who you are, what's changing about you, what your needs are, how you present yourself to the world, as well as the relationships that come from that and that help you to feel supportive, creative, and encouraged at this time. But the release of that is kind of like, what's your outlet? What's your muse for when things feel challenging or things feel frustrating? And for you, that on Wednesday is your career. That is like what you're sharing with the world, your reputation, your image, what you're putting out there to be known for, what you're obsessed with, your passions. So it's kind of like don't get bogged down in the challenges that are coming up, but what can you do with that energy, right? How can you kind of transform it in helpful ways? Thursday, that continues. There's activation between your emotional focus on home and family and what's going on with work and health and your routines and your schedule. There could be this mental realization that's building of maybe a schedule change, perhaps, or what to do in work that feels more supportive for you or reciprocal, and you need to have conversations related to that. There also on Thursday is this sense of release around worthiness tied into finances, tied into shared resources, how you allow yourself to receive from others, things feeling emotionally reciprocal, perhaps having a vulnerable conversation around that, or how you receive intimacy or things tied into emotional intimacy as well. Big focus on release of some old mindset or pattern there. Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your area of creativity, of children, of dating, romance. If you're a woman and you're trying to get pregnant, like this could be the time. There's a lot of emphasis on your area of children. Could also show up as like, bringing to life an idea, a creative passion or project or pursuit, perhaps as well. There's a lot of momentum over this weekend on creativity, on inspiration, on like putting things out there to the world. Could be showing up in dating, romance too. Maybe you have a lot of prospects. Just trust your intuition and don't overextend yourself or move too quickly because it could get really emotionally chaotic Friday and Saturday. It's kind of the risk that comes with this energy. But as we end out and, get into this weekend and end out the week here, there's a lot of realizations and focus on what needs to change within your schedule, your routines to feel more emotionally supported by and with what you're doing and who you're doing it with. So that is your week ahead, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you in your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, yay. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your money, self-worth, values, possessions. There could be some dreams you wake up from Monday or Tuesday related to that were clearing or healing or inspiring for you. There's a lot of kind of potential for creative inspiration on Monday as well, but at the same time, there's something about money or possessions, finances that you're building that is challenging your creativity, challenging children or romance or dating perhaps, and it's kind of like, okay, what needs to evolve in a way that feels more alignment to have balance in both of these areas, to feel better about what you're doing and how you're doing it in both of these areas. That peaks on Tuesday, as there is going to be emotional emphasis to that. It's kind of like, okay, realization perhaps came Monday. Tuesday, what do you do with that realization? How do you act on it? How do you put it into place? How do you implement it? Maybe creating a container to remain disciplined and committed to your creative pursuits and passions is a way that it could show up. Um, Also, not overextending yourself, and maybe, if you're an entrepreneur, raising your prices or just reevaluating that in order to feel really like compensated for what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how you're receiving from what you do. As we head into Wednesday, there could be a conversation you have to have around that related to dating, romance, children, creativity, and money. Then later on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of communication, day-to-day errands, where you're going, who you're talking to. There is this potential for an emotional wound or trigger to be brought up related to communication, related to like short distance travel, perhaps, or also how you share ideas and information coming from an embodied place and your value and your worth, money could be a way that it shows up as well in this kind of like mindset wound around that is also going to be challenging what's expanding about work, what's expanding about your health, your routine, your schedule, and at the same time challenging what's transforming about your inner world, supporting yourself from a solid foundation in your mental health, balancing that with physical health. A lot of like mindset stuff though, that's building realizations around how you support yourself mentally from the inside out, right? And on Thursday, there's an activation of that realization. There could be someone in your life that just is really supportive for you and really helps you to step into more supportive mindset or mental patterns than you've had before. Also, Thursday, there's a lot of focus on releasing a mindset perhaps or releasing something tied to relationships. Could be just again an old mindset pattern or communication pattern that wasn't healthy. There's some sort of mental thing you're realizing you need to release when it comes to connections and relationships in general to have more harmony and balance within your connections and your relationships and who's around you. As we head into Friday, there's a lot of emphasis on your home, on things moving forward with home or family. Could be a big emotional change or innovations with home or family. There could be a lot of things you're doing around the home that is like really busy all of a sudden. Things are moving really forward there. There's just a lot of busyness, a lot of forward momentum. So kind of like don't do too much too fast. Don't overextend yourself when it comes to home or family. um, could be redecorating or moving or something. And there's just a lot of like emotional chaos. So just be careful to not overextend yourself and like take it easy when you can over the weekend because it there's just a lot of forward momentum all of a sudden very quickly within your home and your family, perhaps within your inner world too. It's like lots of ideas, lots of creative processes flowing, lots of inspiration. You're getting a lot of like ideas on what to create and what to do and move forward with. And so there's that potential as well. And really through the whole weekend, it's kind of like, okay, how do I move forward with what I'm wanting to do, expanding in, shifting my mindset around? Like, how do I, yeah, just further support yourself in what you're doing and what you're building so that it like has long-term potential, right? So that you don't burn out too fast in doing what you're doing. Like, how can you just kind of like not neglect yourself for the busyness that you're feeling with everything. So that is your week ahead, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you and your life. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, next week we have the new moon in Cancer. We have a Mercury Cazimi. Illumination of what we're reevaluating or refining about our communication or mindset that really emotionally supports us moving forward. Big emphasis. That new moon is on Tuesday. Big emphasis of that this week and just, on the 14th and onward, the middle of July, really implementing everything we're realizing we want to change is the major focus. And then we have that'll peak next week, but we're getting into the ramp up to the Barbo basket. I intend to do a whole video dedicated to this on Barbo's basket because it is perhaps the greatest. I know I've talked about this in other videos. I don't remember where, but it's perhaps the biggest transit of the century. Um, we basically have Jupiter opposite Pluto, Pluto trining Uranus, Jupiter sextiling Uranus, Uranus sextiling Neptune, Neptune sextiling Pluto, right? It's like this big activation of positive change that is happening for all of us right now. And it might not look like it in the external world, but on an internal level and on an individual level, this is massive change that's happening right now. And we have this energy building the middle of July from the week of the 13th onward, peaks on the 19th, 20th. And at the same time, we have Mars activating Saturn. So it's a lot of like, yes, now is the time, do the things, put it out there, like be building what you want to build because there's no other time like the present. This is the best time to be doing what you want to do. Also on Monday, we have Venus challenging Uranus, which I just feel like a lot of unaligned relationships are ending right now. And we're giving all of like, we've been giving all of these opportunities and they're just like more of them. Leading up to, like I said at the beginning, the Venus retrograde we have in October. It like are your relationships, your connections aligned with your values and your worthiness and your standards? And if not, it has to go. And they're being challenged, right? To are they is this going to withstand what you're doing and what you're building that's newer, that's different, that's innovative. So that's a major focus of next week. We're gonna have also after the new moon in Cancer, the moon join Jupiter and be opposite Pluto, which it will square Chiron. So that's gonna be a little bit emotionally intense. And then the moon will continue to move through Leo. It will harmonize with Neptune, harmonize with Saturn. Um, Also activate Mars and activate Uranus at the same time. So you know, the the challenges that you're facing, the conflicts that you're facing are trying to teach you something. They're trying to tell you something, right? They're trying to give you information on what's not aligned so you can really just shed it and move forward in this time period of great change, fully aligned with your path, your purpose, and your potential. And this is why I love teaching astrology and human design, why I recommend learning your charts because and how to align with the energy of your charts because it is everything right now and it's only going to become more and more important and more people are going to need these systems. So we need more people getting into them and sharing them with the world. So yeah, that's a little sneak peek of next week. As always, let me know how your horoscope resonated with you in the comments and how all of this is showing up for you, what's going on for you. Let's chat about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.